Hello, my beautiful friends. My name is Kim, and I hope you're having a fabulous day today. If you are interested in true crime like I am, I hope that you would consider hitting that subscribe button. But either way, thanks for being here. I have to give a warning on this video. This case is the crimiest of crimey. We are going to be talking about child abuse to a degree that will not sit well with a lot of you. If you are sensitive to child cases, please click off this video. Today we're going to be talking about the overwhelming requested Star Hobson. I must get a request to do this case daily. I wanted to put a little bit of a breather between some of the heavy cases I've been covering, but now I think I'm ready to give you guys what you've requested. Without further ado, let's talk about the horrible life and death of Star Hobson. Star Hobson was born on May 21st, 2019. At the time of this case, she was a mere 16 months of age. She was born to her parents, Frankie Smith and Jordan Hobson. Let's get to know Star's parents. Frankie Smith, the mother, was a daughter of Yvonne Spenley, who was often seen partying together with Frankie. Frankie was 19 years of age at the time of this case. Frankie was very immature for her age. She was said to play with Barbies at the age of 16. I'm not sure that proved that she was immature, but her further actions certainly do. She was said to have a low IQ of a mere 70. To put that in context, normal IQ is between 85 and 150. So she was certainly under normal. Frankie had an extended family, which really seemed to be there and support her. She was very young when she had her daughter Star, just a month before her 18th birthday, but her family was there to offer any help that she needed for her new baby. Jordan, the dad, I don't know much about him. He was going to college to get a degree in criminology. So May 21st, 2019, Star is born to Frankie, who is a month before her 18th birthday, so she was 17 years old. Frankie and Star bonded like most mother-daughters and newborns do. Frankie would say that Star was the best thing that happened to her, but something changed after 6 months, friends would say. It is believed that the change happened after Frankie and Jordan, the dad, broke up. He was going off to college at the time, so I'm not sure if that's why they broke up or their relationship was just seemed to be toxic anyways. In September of 2019, Star being 4 months old, on a holiday in Brimlington, Frankie repeatedly left Star with a friend so that she could go out drinking. So even before her and Jordan broke up, she's showing signs that she wanted to go out and party and was losing interest in being a parent. So although most of the reports are saying 6 months, it could be closer to 4 months. With Jordan and Frankie now calling it quits and Jordan going off to college, Frankie would now be on her own to take care of Star. Frankie wanted to be like other childless teenagers her age. She wanted to go out and party and hang out with friends, so she did just that, and she did it often. Star would be dropped off at friends and families often to accommodate Frankie's desire to be a party animal. Although Star was frequently bounced around to different friends and family, she still appeared to be happy and thriving. It appeared her needs were being met and was loved by many. She then gets together with Savannah Brockhill a couple of weeks after her and Jordan broke up. Savannah was a bouncer at the Sun Pub in Bradford, West Yorkshire. Savannah Brockhill, 27 years of age at the time, she was said to be an amateur boxer who wanted to be more than just an amateur boxer, but due to an injury, she was unable to continue the boxing path. She was a security guard, a dog handler, and a bouncer at the bar that Frankie was a regular at, which was called the Sun Pub. She was a self-proclaimed psycho. Yes, She labeled herself as a psycho. She did not miss the mark with that label for herself. Savannah was also a very jealous person who didn't pass up an opportunity to go to violence when Frankie continued to attract male and female attention. Savannah would threaten to kneecap anyone who even looked at her. May 2020, here is a little video of her sounding especially psycho, as she calls herself.
Guys and girls need to remember the fact that Frankie is with me. She keeps getting a lot of message requests and friends requests. She's not going to accept, especially tramps like yous. And if you want to keep your kneecaps, I suggest you stop sending her them. She's with the #1 psycho.
It was said that Frankie's parenting went from bad to worse after she met Savannah. It was reported that once very bubbly little Star went to a child that seemed distant and sad. She wasn't the same happy-go-lucky baby they once knew. She was very quiet and reserved. The relationship between Frankie and Savannah was toxic at best. They would break up, they would get back together several times between November and January. Savannah, as you've seen in the video, was overly jealous and caused many arguments and breakups. Frankie now getting attention from both females and males. Savannah's nightmare, I suppose. She didn't have to compete with just one sex, now she had to compete with two. The babysitter Holly had a few things to say about the relationship. She would say Savannah was even jealous of little Star's last name. Savannah thought it should be changed to her last name because she didn't belong to her dad anymore. That Star was hers. It's just bizarre. Holly, the friend, noticed that Star was also not the happy-go-lucky baby that she once was. So Holly offered to take Star on the weekends, stating she wanted to help out and give Frankie her freedom because it was clear her priorities were not in being a parent. So of course, Frankie said, heck yeah. And they started this routine of her dropping Star off on the weekends. Holly then started to get concerned about the relationship between Frankie and Savannah because she saw not only bruises on Frankie, she also saw Savannah being very physical with Frankie. But when Holly saw the bruises on little Star, she grew very concerned about Star's safety. So on January 27, 2020, the call to social services was made. Holly was very concerned and wasn't going to stand around and do nothing about it. We love Holly. We really do. A social worker is assigned to the case. This caseworker calls and tells Frankie, hey, we have a report about Star. We'll be there in an hour. Just guess what Frankie did in that hour. Yes, she cleaned. She made it nice and tidy. Although a clean house can never prove a good parent, and the bruises obviously tell a different story, caseworkers love when you have a clean house. I imagine they see terrible conditions, so when a house is tidy, they get an impression, and just guessing, not speaking for all caseworkers, of course, and wouldn't really matter because the caseworker never showed up at the house that day anyway. In this hour, she was able to cover Star's bruises, most likely put some makeup on him, I don't know. You heard me correctly that the caseworker didn't actually go to the house. It was two officers who then reported back to the caseworker. Then the case was closed. The caseworker never sees Star, but deems her safe. How does that work? I'm a social worker who protects children, but I don't want to actually go to their house, see them, talk to them, use my training that I've received to determine if there's abuse going on. I'll just send the police. Apparently, they did try to call Frankie and connect with her, but she wasn't ever home when they called. So they made a call to Holly, who had actually made the call. She made it anonymously. And they said, sorry, mate, the case is closed. Well, I'm just kidding. They didn't say mate, but they did tell her that, yes, the case is indeed closed. They felt that Star was in no immediate danger. Holly is just shocked and frustrated. Gosh, I could only imagine imagine how upset and disappointed that Star was basically still in danger. Because Holly had called anonymously, Frankie was not aware it was her, so she was able to continue her weekend schedule, with Frankie none the wiser that Holly had made the call, which obviously was good because at least Holly knew that she was safe 2 days out of the week. It was said that Frankie told the caseworker that her family and friends didn't support their girl-girl relationship, and she was just being picked on for that. That has nothing to do with the care of Star. Apparently, they believed her. Savannah sends a message to one of Frankie's sisters asking her if Frankie is cheating on her, saying, "I'm broken. I'll stab someone tonight. I swear." She threatens to go and confront Frankie. "I don't care about kids in the house," she would say. "I will rage. Fuck it. They're going to need the police in the house to take me away." It is clear that Savannah's jealousy is escalating. If my sister's girlfriend texts me asking if she's cheating on them, I would have to say something like, "Do you blame her if she is? See how jealous you are?" I say that, but honestly, I would probably just delete the message and ignore them altogether because I hate confrontation. No, thank you, delete. But Frankie is feeling overwhelmed with life. She contacts her grandparents to ask if they could take little Star so she could get her crap together. They agreed to take Star, no problem, which is amazing that Frankie had such an amazing support system that she could call and take Star at a drop of a hat. They welcome Star. In fact, when Star showed up to the house, she was again just as Holly described her, says she is quiet and withdrawn. They were surprised at how different Star was from the last time they saw her. The grandparents were very concerned, but were happy to have Star in their care. After a few days, they got back their little happy Star. She had a diaper rash that was healing. Star would stay with the great-grandparents for just about 11 weeks. March 14th, 2020, Savannah punches Frankie in the face at the Sun pub and later says it's an accident. That's the best she could do? Accident? No. Frankie is said to have been seen with bruises and stated Savannah had gotten physical with her, so clearly the relationship had turned physical early on. It was just now happening in public. In the same month, at around the start of the first of the lockdown, Frankie gets her own apartment flat. Lockdowns had taken a toll on strong, functional families, but for dysfunctional families, this has been proven to be catastrophic. Savannah and Frankie decide they should live together during lockdown. Terrible idea. They barely know each other. March 15th, 2020, Savannah texts her boxing partner to say she tried to take her own life and also Frankie's by driving off a cliff, but ended up giving Frankie a hiding, which when I did the translation, it means just a beating. Savannah says she thinks she needs help mentally and that she was out of control. Savannah would say, "Honestly, I just can't. I just lose it," Savannah would tell her friend. Clearly unstable. Late April, early May, even though things are going great with Star being at her great-grandparents', Star was continuing with her weekend visits to Holly to free up the grandparents and give them a little break. Frankie wasn't really seeing Star during this time either. But then Frankie decides to come get Star from the grandparents' home. Frankie tells the grandparents that she's just going to be taking her for an hour or so. I am not sure why she picked her up, but she did. Star was not happy to see her mom at all. She had the fear of God in her face and was screaming and yelling when Frankie took her out of that house to the car to return to her hell. This happy child turned fearful the moment she knew that her mom was taking her home. At only 1 year old, she knew she was no longer going to be safe. But the great-grandparents thought, well, it's only an hour or so. But then Frankie called and stated that she was going to take her overnight. The grandfather actually drove by Frankie's house and saw Savannah's car was in the driveway and was immediately even more concerned than he already was. He was concerned not only for Star's safety, but also that Frankie wasn't going to bring Star back to them. Well, Frankie didn't bring Star back to the great-grandparents' house. I guess she decided she wanted to be a parent again. May 16th, the great-grandfather has not seen Star in a while, and it was Frankie's mom's birthday, but Frankie and Savannah were not there. Just Star. He missed Star and just wanted to give her some attention. So he goes over to Star, picks her up, gives her a big hug, kisses her cheeks, and then puts her down. But later in the evening, Frankie sends the great-grandfather a text. This is the strangest. I think I have read into this message way too much, but it said, "Don't you ever touch Star again. Picking her up? Star is our baby. Star is our baby. Don't you ever come near her again. And if you do, I'll report you to the police." I think Savannah sent that text. She's the jealous one. And in fact, that the message kept saying our. What a slap in the face, because they were caring for Star for 11 weeks with no complaints. Is there more to the story? Again, I am probably reading way too much into this text message, but to continue it, just because I'm so curious, I'll get off this in a bit, but who actually told them, and why would they tell them? Why would that be news? It's so bizarre. So Star is back with Frankie and Savannah, and it wasn't long after that Anita Smith, the grandmother of Frankie, the great-grandmother to little Star, makes a call to social services after learning that Savannah had been restraining Star with a wrestling move called a slam choke. This move on a baby. Savannah was apparently bragging that she did this to Star to toughen her up. Toughen up a 1-year-old baby, not even, like 9 months. I can't even imagine or even start to explain the logic. It's so twisted. A social worker visits that same day. Again, Frankie and Savannah reassure the caseworkers that this is just a case of discrimination, that they would never do that to Star. Social services never called Anita to give her an update, to let her know that they were going to close the case or reassure her that Star was safe. She didn't report this anonymously either. The only reason she knew is because Frankie called and yelled at her for calling and basically ripped Star from seeing the great-grandmother, Anita, and her great-grandfather as well. After that point, all the communication were cut off. And so that means that nobody knew what was going on with Star. By June, everybody is aware Star is not safe and is frantically calling social services for help. This includes Jordan, the father. He makes a call to social services. Police visit and arrange for Star to go to have medical examination at Bradford Royal Infirmary. Other referrals are made this month as well. Frankie's sister calls, Alicia calls, and a friend of Frankie's mother, Rachel Whiteley. What fueled the insurge of calls was because David Fawcett made a post showing poor Star is not in well condition. The caption stated, "From this to this in 5 weeks. What's going on, Frankie?" And then a black heart. It depicts a picture of Star being healthy and happy next to a picture. Well, you can see the picture. Frankie and Savannah would state that Star hit her head on a coffee table and received marks from playing with a puppy is why she had the marks on her face. Medical examiners seemed to agree with the accounts of what happened, or not disagree, I guess. I don't know. I can only imagine Frankie is a master manipulator. July 8th, social services closed the case on Star. I mean, they actually did have her examined this time, but They closed it. September 2nd, Frankie's grandfather, Frank Smith, makes a call to social services after seeing bruises on Star's face. Social services make an unannounced visit the following day and note that the house was clean and tidy, but Star had a few bruises. It is just Savannah and Star at the home when they arrive. Frankie apparently was in Scotland. It seems as if there was a lot of alone time between Star and Savannah, which is really disturbing. I think Savannah was getting off on hurting Star. I hate to go there, but it's just a little bit weird that they spent so much time alone. Savannah says she has fallen down the stairs. It's so annoying that the caseworkers made it known in their report that the house was clean and tidy. My sister is an amazing mom, but she was a single mom of 3. Her house was often messy. All of her kids were in sports. She worked full time. There was just not enough hours in the day. I say that because it seems to be in all the reports. Tidy home. Who cares? She has bruises on her face, bad bruises, but her house is clean? Case closed? No. Remember I mentioned Frankie had gone and picked up Star from her grandparents after that 11 weeks, and the dad drove by Frankie's house and Savannah was there. I really think that it was by Savannah's request that she was to come back. I don't think it was Frankie, and I think that she enjoyed abusing Star. I really do. September 7th, the social worker texts Frankie to tell her the case is closed. I wonder if these cases opened and closed is giving Frankie validation that she and Savannah were not doing anything wrong as far as their care for Star. Even though they were lying to get out of these claims, I wonder if this aided in the continued abuse somehow. The abuse didn't seem to get better with each claim. In fact, it only got worse. September 13th, Savannah brought Star to work with her. But apparently she had brought her to work a couple of times so Frankie could go out. Why she would ever bring a child to a recycling plant to hang out at 1 year old, I have no idea. But she's seen on CCTV assaulting Star 21 times. Savannah was a security guard at the plant, so she would know that there is cameras, but Savannah didn't care. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She apparently hit her while she's in her car seat. She falls out of the car. She drags her back in the car by her throat. She was an awful person, and this was all captured on CCTV. But her often going into work with Savannah just is another concern of how much time they were spending alone together. This clearly wasn't in a loving nature, but rather the opposite. And it is just sad. Frankie couldn't see that Savannah was a huge danger. She had a front row seat of what was going on. She seen the bruises on Star. They text each other about them. Frankie would say stuff like, her face is, how could you do that to her face? Or her face is disgusting, but not that the fact that she beat her, but the fact that she left marks on her face. It's just disgusting. Another clue Frankie was involved in extensive abuse is a text exchange between Savannah and Frankie. It began when Frankie stating she will run a bath for Savannah to hold her underwater. Savannah would state something like, "What you do to Star," and then Frankie would respond stating, "You do it longer." Apparently, this was a punishment the pair would do to Star if she cried too much. They would hold her underwater, and they were in competition. No, you do it longer. In September, there's also CCTV footage shows Frankie dragging Star through Bradford City Center, with Star's head dropping from one side to the other. Although throughout this case, we painted Savannah as the bad guy in this case, Frankie was abusing Star as well. When I first went into this case, I felt Frankie was a victim. She was being abused. She had a low IQ, but honestly, she is awful. She may have been a victim of abuse by Savannah, but she was also causing harm to Star alongside of Savannah. When Frankie was dragging Star around, she had a broken bone in her leg. She was visibly crying and upset, but that did not stop Frankie from dragging her and making her step on her very painful broken leg. It's disgusting. But what is more disgusting is Frankie's punishment at the end of all of this, but we will get there. Frankie apparently at this time said to Savannah, we should take her to the hospital to get her checked out. This is 2 days before the incident takes place. And Savannah just stated that Star was acting out and they didn't need to go to the hospital. As well, Frankie was on video recorded yelling at Star and sticking her in a corner with her face to the wall. Remember, she is only 1 year old. She hasn't even seen her terrible 2s or 3s yet, hardly has the consciousness to be a naughty child. Apparently, there were a couple of recordings of Frankie doing this. Savannah recorded this to prove that Frankie was mean to Star, almost as if she was covering her butt prior to something happening. But there was a lot of recordings and text messages that came out in court. There was one, I wasn't really going to talk about it, but I'll just touch on it a little bit. If you guys have ever seen America's Funniest Videos, where there's like little kids sitting in their high chair that are very tired and they like fall asleep and they catch it on camera. Well, Savannah and Frankie thought it was a good idea to deprive her of sleep, set her in a chair, wait for her to fall asleep and fall out of the chair and bump her head, and recorded it. It went on for like 20 minutes. And then they did another video of her falling asleep and falling into her food. Now, it's funny when it's like funniest home videos, it's just this one-time case, but they were setting up scenarios and basically putting Star in danger. They weren't doing it just like, oh, look at this happened, this is funny. It was more, let's keep her up so we can get a good video. And they would add music to it, and it's just disgusting. Yuck. On another occasion, Holly, the weekend babysitter, and Savannah, Star, and Frankie were eating McDonald's in the car. Holly feeds Star some food, and Star accidentally bit down on Holly's finger. She's a baby. You stick your hands in their mouth with food, they're going to bite down. They don't know any better. Savannah says to Frankie, Star just bit Holly. What are you going to do about it? So Frankie grabs little Star's hand and bites her finger in punishment. No words for this woman. She is not innocent. September 22nd, 2020, a 911 call goes in, or 999.
Ambulance service, is the patient breathing?
Yeah, she's breathing.
Is she conscious?
Yeah. She's a bit of both, really. Basically, it's my partner's daughter. It's my little girl as well. I brought her up. We've got all 3 children here playing, and was in the kitchen making a coffee, and they've been in the living room, and I heard a bang. So I came out, and the little lad stood there, and the little girl's on the floor, and she was crying, and then she stopped crying, and then she was sick, and now she's just a little bit floppy, to be honest with you.
And what do you know what the bang was?
No, I don't know I don't know if she's fallen off of the sofa, or I don't know. Just the 3 of them playing with us. And
right.
he just said start, and when I walked in, she was laid on the floor. Shush, darling.
So you heard a bang, the patient was on the floor.
I've heard a bang, yeah. I came in, and the little lad was saying Star, which is the little girl.
Yeah.
So I've I shouted at Mummy, said sit up, Star. So I sat her up, and I started to rub her back because she was like breathing but like struggling.
Yeah.
So I was rubbing her back. She started to be sick, so I led her on the floor.
Yeah.
Put her in like CPR position, started to run her back. She started to lose breath, so I performed CPR on her.
So you've done CPR on her?
Yeah, I've done CPR. I've got her in the position, the recovery position now.
Who are the other two children? I mean, not their names, but who were they to Frankie and Savannah? I hear kids crying in the background. Who would trust their kids with this pair is more of the question. She would say she's a bit floppy. I mean, there is a language difference, but is that normal statement to make? Floppy? I mean, there are a million things I could point out about this call, but her description just gets me. So Frankie and Savannah claim that they were out of the room when Star fell, but then they made a Google search how to bring a baby out of shock. 15 minutes, guys. 15 minutes later, they make the call to 911 after she's already in a dangerous state. 15 minutes. That is so much time wasted. Paramedics would arrive, but Star was basically gone. A medical examiner would state with the type of injury that Star had, there was little that they could have done to save her. Her autopsy would show that Star had a broken skull, a broken leg that had healed, but then it had been rebroken. She had pinch marks. She had punch marks that had happened prior to the day that they seen her, proving that Star's injuries happened over a length of time. It's just heartbreaking. After all the calls that were being made to help her, that were being unheard, but what ultimately was her demise was a kick or a stomp on her stomach. The court believed it was Savannah who caused the internal bleeding and catastrophic injuries. It was discovered during trial that Savannah had made some Google searches either after or while she was alone with Star. Disgusting. How to dry drown someone. What can snapping your ankle do? What happens when you bend fingers back? What happens when you get punched in the abdomen? Babies bending fingers back. How long does it take to be traumatized? What happens when you can't breathe? Savannah. Signs of child abuse and how to take away bruises. There are hundreds, but those are just a few to get a picture of how evil Savannah was. They are arrested, both Frankie and Savannah. They both blame each other for the cause of Star's death. It really was a he said, she said, with a lot of phone evidence to support they were both culpable. But ultimately, on December 14th, 2021, not that long ago, Savannah is convicted of murdering Star. The jury finds Frankie guilty of causing or allowing the death of a child. She wasn't charged for child abuse, as she is seen on CCTV dragging Star around with a broken leg. The camera footage or the text messages that she sent or lying to social services, she received 8 years and with good behavior could be out in 4. She will still be in her 20s and can bear more children. That scares me. In my opinion, she should have received more time. Is there a petition I can sign? Do you guys do that in the UK? I know that there is some talk about adding some time to her sentence, and I really hope it happens because 8 years or 4 years is not enough time. She is so much more guilty than that. It's just scary that she could be 24 out and could have another baby. Savannah was convicted and was handed a life sentence with a minimum of 25 years. She is outright dangerous, and I hope she is never allowed to be paroled. I am not sure who wronged her in her life, but she has deep, festering anger within her. During the trial, she showed little emotion, even yawned at times. I'm not sure if she was bored or what, but when her sentence was given to her, she laughed. She thought it was funny. Bernard Hobson told the judge during his statement, "What did Star do to deserve her life, which had just begun, be snuffed out so prematurely?" It's hard to comprehend that a girl that we knew could do something so heinous. He said Star was snatched away. Her life had barely started. 16 months old? Definitely barely started. Savannah's family seemed to still support her and would say in the courtroom that they loved her. Just gross. Family is family, so I guess it's disgusting. I wouldn't. I'm sorry. Frankie's family had pretty much abandoned her with good reason. There needs to be consequences for her actions, or she will not see the devastation. The father of Frankie Smith died from an intentional drug overdose on Frankie's 20th birthday. He wrote a letter to Frankie and said, "You look after yourself and I'll look after the baby." His name was Andrew Smith. He was said to be a sociable, loving, and very funny father of 7. He was 50 years old. His death came 5 days after he discharged himself from a hospital against medical advice after a respiratory arrest following a drug overdose. I really hope that Frankie has learned something from all of this, so when she does get out with her short sentence, she makes some real life changes and learns something from this. To be fair to Frankie, I do not think she would be in this situation if it weren't for Savannah. But you guys let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Let's leave a pink heart in the comments to show our love for little Star, to let her know that there are good people out there and her life was not in vain. This was a really sad case who affected a lot of people who loved her. But thanks to everybody that suggested this case. I hope I did it some justice. Thanks to all my channel members who continue to support me. Their names are on the screen. If you would like early access to new videos or decide the cases that I cover next, you can do that by clicking the join button. Well, if you guys have made it to the end, you guys are rock stars and I love you to death. There are more true crime videos in my Captured Killers playlist if you would like to check them out. But either way, stay safe, my loves, and remember, if you see something, say something. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.